Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, we are from Group 4 and our group members are Ainur Rahman, Amalia Rosyida, Ananda Dewi, Ervida Khomsa and Suryo Djagad. So here we are going to present our English lesson plan of junior high school. And here are the general information of this lesson plan. And the first one is the lesson plan identity. The class is 7th grade of junior high school. The subject is English. The topic is procedure text with the time allocation approximately 3 meetings or 6 times 40 minutes. And the approach that we use is genre-based approach or GBA.
Alright, hello everyone. I'm Nanda, and here I want to explain about the learning outcomes of this lesson plan. By the end of phase D, students are able to identify the social purpose, text structure, and linguistic characteristics of procedure text through collaborative reading and writing activities. Additionally, they can create procedure text that contains steps for doing or making something in a systematic and meaningful way. Through a genre-based approach, students demonstrate critical, reflective, and creative thinking skills by connecting procedure text to real-life context and also interpreting the implied meaning and communicative purpose of text.
Alright, so it is me, Amalia Rosyida, and I would like to explain about the learning outcome based on the phase D elements. The first one is speaking. By the end of phase D, students use English to listen to and respond to verbal explanation of step or procedure text in familiar context, as well as interact and exchange ideas about procedures for making something. They are able to explain the steps verbally using imperative sentences and specific vocabulary with understandable pronunciation. The next one is reading. By the end of phase D, students will read and identify written or visual procedure texts that outline the objectives, materials, and steps. They evaluate the clarity of information and begin to conclude the implied meaning of the text they have read. The next, writing. By the end of phase D, students plan, write, and present informative and coherent procedure texts using appropriate vocabulary structures, paying attention to the spelling, punctuation, and consistent use of conjunctions, and demonstrating a deep understanding of the social function of procedure text.
My name is Ainur Rahman. Today I will explain our lesson plan, especially in the first meeting. Okay, in the first meeting, we will focus on the BKOF and MUT. The first one, I will explain the objective first. By the end of the lesson, students will be able to identify the social function, structure, and language features of a procedure text by reading and analyzing simple examples with at least 80% accuracy. And the tools that we need to prepare and use, the first one is course book, English for Nusantara for 8th graders, and YouTube video, how to make a toast and how to cook noodles. And the last one is whiteboard and markers. Okay, we jump into the learning activities. In the first one, we have an opening. The time allocation is 5 minutes. The first one, we will conduct the teacher grades and the students and offers a prayer. The teacher checks the students' attendance and the teachers ask the students, like, have you had a breakfast today? What did you eat this morning? And did you make it by yourself? And we jump to BKOF or building knowledge of the village. The time allocation is 10 minutes. The first one, we have the teacher shows the students a video of how to make a toast, and then the teacher plays another video about procedure text, how to cook noodles. After that, the teacher asks the students what they understood from the video, and finally, the teacher shares the learning objective. After that, we will jump through the MUT or modeling of the text. The time allocation is 55 minutes. Okay, the first step is the teacher asks the students to distinguish and find similarities in the videos, and the teacher instructs the students to read one example of procedure text in the course book, and then the teacher and students read text, then identify the structure of the text like goals, materials, or ingredients, steps, or etc. And the fourth, the teacher highlights imperative verbs and sequence connector. The teacher explains social function, structure, and language features of the procedure text, and then the students note the explanation of the teacher, and finally, the teacher and students review the material and summarize key patterns of procedure text. Okay, in the final section, this is the closing section, which means that the time allocation is 10 minutes. The first one, the teacher asks the students what they learned today. The students share their opinion during this class section. The teacher gives feedback on the activity that they did, and the teacher gives a short motivational message and announces the next topic. And the last one, the teacher and students pray together. Then the teacher closes the lesson by saying thank you and goodbye.
Nanda's here, we will move on to second meeting. In this second meeting, the time allocation is 80 minutes. And the focus for this meeting is joint construction of the text. For the learning objectives, by the end of the lesson, students will be able to write simple procedure text using appropriate imperative verbs such as boil, pour, and stir, and sequence connectors such as first, then, next, finally, in short guided task with at least 80% accuracy in sentence structure and vocabulary use. And the tools that the teacher will use in the second meeting are: the first one is course book, English for Nusantara for 8th graders. Second, YouTube video, how to make a cup of tea. And the last one is whiteboard and markers. And for the learning activities, the first one is opening. The time allocation is 5 minutes. And the activity, the first one is the teacher greets the students and offers a prayer. Second, the teacher checks the students' attendance. And last, the teacher asks the triggering questions such as, do you like a cup of tea? And do you know how to make it? And the second one is building knowledge of field. The time allocation is 10 minutes. The first one, the teacher reviews the material covered in the previous meeting. Second one, the teacher plays a short video from the YouTube about how to make a simple thing, such as how to make a cup of tea. The third, the teacher guides students to identify imperative verbs from the video, for example, boil, pour, add, stir, and sequence connector, for example, first, second, then next. And the next one is the teacher write the collected verbs connectors on the whiteboard and discuss the meanings and correct usage. The last one, the teacher asks students to share their ideas about other simple things that can be made using procedure text. For example, how to make sandwich and also how to make orange juice, etc.
Hello guys, my name is Ervida Khomsa. The next is the joint constructions of the text. It's allocated around 55 minutes. For the activities, the teacher divides students into small groups. Each group chooses the familiar topic to write a simple procedure text. Each group discusses what material and steps are needed for their procedure text. With the guidance from the teacher, the students collaboratively write a simple procedure text using correct structure based on the chosen topic. The teacher observes group collaboration participations and the use of grammar, connector, and structure. Next, the teacher provides solutions if the students have any difficulty in the process of writing. And after all the group done, each group exchanges their text with another group to give the simple peer feedback. For example, is the clue clear? Are the steps in order? Or are the words easy to understand? And last, the teacher evaluates by giving comments and summarize the strengths and areas to improve. The next is closing. It's allocated around 10 minutes. For the activities, all the students share what they have learned today, reflect on which areas that they found challenging and which part are they enjoy the most. Next, the teacher gives a short motivational message and announce the next topic for the next meeting. And last, the teacher and students pray together. Then the teacher closes the lesson by saying thank you and goodbye. And for the assessment in the second meeting, the assessment at the beginning of the learning, the teacher asks the students to share ideas about other simple things that can be made using procedure text. The second assessment in the process of learning, the teacher observes group collaborations, participations, and the use of grammar, connector, and structure. And last, the assessment at the end of the learning, each group of the students exchange their text with another group to give simple feedback to the others group. And the teacher evaluates by giving comment and summarize the strengths and the areas to improve.
My name is Suryo Djagad and I'm here to explain some parts of the meeting 3 of our lesson plan. So meeting 3, the time allocated for this meeting is 2 jam pelajaran, which is 80 minutes. And the focus of this meeting is ICOT, which is the independent assignment for the students. Okay, we move to the objectives of the meeting. So by the end of this lesson, students will be able to independently compose positive text with familiar topics that they choose. For example, food, drink, or simple craft, using correct structure, grammar, and vocabulary with at least 80% accuracy in rubric scoring. Okay, and we move to the tools that we use in the class later on. First one is writing worksheet, and then whiteboard and markers, and the last one is the scoring rubric itself. Okay, now we move to the learning activities, and the first stage of the learning activity is, of course, the opening, and the time allocated for the opening is 5 minutes. And in the opening, the teacher will greet the students and offer a prayer, and then the teacher checks the students' attendance, and then the teacher reviews the previous lesson, and then she activates the students' interest by asking triggering questions such as, what's your favorite food or drink to make? And the last one, the teacher will explain that today students will write their own procedure text. Okay, we move to the PKOF, which is the building knowledge of the field, and the time allocated for this section is 10 minutes. So in this section, the teacher will review the key structures of procedure text, such as goals, materials, ingredients, and steps. And then the teacher will ask the students to recall the structure and connectors, such as what do we usually write first in the procedure text, and what words do we use to show sequence. And then the students will mention the imperative verbs such as put, boil, stir, mix, and serve. And connectors, for example, first, second, next, then, and finally. And then the teacher writes the words on the whiteboard as a quick reference list for writing. And finally, students will read the list aloud together.
Alright, I am Amalia Rosyida and I would like to continue the explanation for the meeting 3. It is focused on the independent construction of the text. It is conducted for around 55 minutes, and the main activities are the teacher distributes the writing worksheet, the student individually write a procedure text with their own topics that sound familiar, the teacher reminds them to use the correct structure such as goals, materials or ingredients, and the steps. While the student writes, the teacher moves around to the class to monitor the progress and provide individual guidance if it is needed. And the next, after finishing, the volunteers may read their text aloud to the class. Note, in the case that the students are not able to finish the individual construction of the text, it shall be given as the assignment. So let's move on to the closing here, and it is conducted for around 10 minutes. The first one, all students share what they have learned today about the process of composing procedure text. Students reflect on which areas they found challenging and which part they enjoyed the most. The next, the teacher gives general feedback and appreciates students' effort. The teacher gives a short motivational message and announces the next topic. And the last, the teacher and students pray together, then the teacher closes the lesson by saying thank you and goodbye. And we also provide the formative assessment for this meeting that is about individual written tasks when the student compose their own procedure text. And here is the assessment of the rubric. The aspects are structure, language features, grammar and vocabulary, and the coherence. The criteria of the structure are text includes goals, materials, and steps in the correct order, and the language features consist of the correct use of imperative verbs and sequence connectors, and grammar and vocabulary consist of the accurate and appropriate for context. Then the coherence include steps are logical and easy to follow. And each aspect here contain the weight 25%. Alright, so from the lesson plan that has been presented, the elements of deep learning and the implementations of Pancasila students' profile have been included here. The stages in GBA allow the students to relate to their real experiences, discover and understand about the structure of procedure text independently. They think critically and creatively through the collaboration with the teams and apply the concept they have learned in the context. So we think that's all for the explanations of our lesson plan. Thank you so much for your nice attention. Goodbye and see you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.